Chilling tales for dark nights.
Knuckle Supper. Written by Drew Stepek. Performed by Jason Hill. Chapter 31. Demons. Peoria, Arizona was hot. I kind of felt like my skin was melting again, and it probably was. As the sun started to go down, Eldritch and I lathered ourselves up with sunscreen and rolled up the windows on his hearse. After I let him know where I wanted to go, he took over the driving. "Can you turn off the vampire music, Eldritch? I've had enough doom and gloom to last me the rest of my life." He pulled out the USB cord from his iPhone and turned up the radio. The talk radio host spoke. "A giant methamphetamine fire erupted out at the abandoned Salton Sea Resort last night that police are blaming on a neo-Nazi street gang named the Skinland Invasion. According to Area Police Chief Timothy O'Malley, they were poised to strike the operation and had been investigating it for months." Is that always the way these things are explained, Eldritch? For the most part. I heard the other day that a respected and charitable priest downtown was shot through the head by Satanists. Neither of us really had much to say to each other, so we just listened to the radio. I didn't even bother telling him the cloth's experiment to create me. It was less about shame than it was trivial at that point. The radio host continued with the day's headlines as the last of the desert sun sunk behind a mountain. "In entertainment news, more information is surfacing about the heroin overdose of the overly private and secluded actor Stefan Roderick." The co-host laughed her way into the conversation. "The guy who plays the lead vampire in those Nightshade films? The one who takes himself way too seriously, right?" "That's him. We told you last week that he takes his role so seriously that he insists all his scenes be shot after dark. He won't even take a studio executive meeting during the day." The co-host giggled. "Go on. It's really not that funny. It's serious." She held in her laughter. Okay. I'm serious now. "Anyway, Roderick apparently overdosed yesterday, and insiders say that he was a heroin addict." "Big deal," the co-host sighed. "Another druggy movie star. Is that what shocks you?" No. Wait, it gets so much better. Roderick recovered from the overdose, and police say he refuses to leave his home in Austin, Texas. His handlers have only brought in his personal physician to treat him." Both hosts roared with laughter. The co-host said, "Oh, talk about someone who takes themselves too seriously." I turned off the radio. "Roderick is one of us, you know," Eldritch said. "I'm not sure I know what you are, Eldritch." Without looking at him, I said, "Pull over." I snatched Eldritch's iPhone and searched for Bates' name. Surely there had to be a record of a missing 12-year-old on the internet. I found an article. "Parents beg for the return of runaway teen, Bailea Jenkins." And in the first sentence were their names: Mother Roberta Jenkins and stepfather Thomas Fries. I walked to the door. I knocked. I knocked again. I heard fiddling with the doorknob. Then, nothing. After 2 more minutes of pounding, the white door finally crept open to the Arizona outside. "What do you want?" Thomas was slimier than I imagined in my head. Shirt off, ponytail, boxer briefs. For a second, I shook off the image of Bate begging me to bite her neck. "Sir, I found your daughter." "Who the fuck are you, faggot?" He wiped the coke snot off his irritated nose. I scrubbed my forearm, wanting more than anything to take him down. I wasn't a vampire. I didn't need to be invited into his house. "Time to get me high." "I'm from... shit." I grabbed his head from the back, dug my pinky into the base of his skull, and twirled the George Carlin ponytail around my index finger. Do you like to finger little girls, motherfucker? I pulled his head into my chest. One last chance. I found your daughter. Tell her you're sorry. I really don't want to do this. I don't want to kill you unless you did something wrong. But I did. I was a serial killer, and I was the world's greatest aftermarket abortion. Not all trash deserves to live and breathe. Bates' voice seemed to be inside of me. I felt her pain. The pain she suffered at the hands of some shitbag who made her masturbate while he jerked off into her asshole. I rolled my fingers down and dug farther into his skull. I just wanted to rip his head off. I got my mouth right next to his ear. I tried to whisper, but at this point, talking was over. Do you think it's cool to fuck and finger little girls, asshole? He sniffed and searched his dense brain for some wise retort. Nothing came out. He didn't even care enough about his own life to plead for it. Who are you? The ringing in my ear from the habit's bullets drove thumbtack pains into my brain. I couldn't hear shit. I just wanted to kill. No matter what he said to me, he was going to die. I quit speaking. I took my index finger and jammed it into his left eye and started finger fucking his brain. You know when something is just out of reach? You tickle it? I pulled him closer, fully penetrating his brain. His other eye rolled back, bleeding. I took my index finger and jammed out the other eye. All I could hear was, please, and no, and why? Why? I screamed. I moved him away from my chest and picked him up through his eye holes. You don't finger fuck little girls. He shook out one last worthless breath and quivered. For a second, I felt like a real vampire. I dug my mouth into his neck and just rocked his jugular. Then I balanced the top of his skull with my free hand as I broke through it with the hand I was using to dig around inside. I pushed upward and tore off his head. And I wasn't fucking around either. I beat it 24 times on the coffee table. I counted. I threw his face across the room. Disheveled, I wandered around the wood-paneled house a little. Then I heard, "Oh my God!" In lingerie, the worst human being in the world stood across the room from me with a toothbrush in her mouth. It was her. It was Mom. Roberta. Are you Roberta Jenkins? I didn't wait for an answer as I stormed across and seized her vocal cords and esophagus. The toothbrush fell out. Using her voice box as a tow rope, I yanked her to the floor, smacking her chin against my fist in the carpet. As I pulled on the insides of her neck, her shrieks became more and more high-pitched until the stringy cords severed like the strings on a guitar tuned too far. As I reached the complete threshold, her voice let out a kazooed rumble and then fizzled away completely. She didn't like to talk. What was the use? I ripped the thing out, right from the stem, and threw it towards Daddy's head. I picked up her electric toothbrush and browbeat the fuck out of her. The bristles cut into her forehead, and the power of the beating made the batteries from the brush fall out. I grabbed one off the floor and pushed it into her ear until the eardrum popped. Red fudge sludged in and out of her triple chins. I picked up what was left of the toothbrush and drove it through her eye sockets. This was the person who let her daughter get fucked by a molester and just sat there. She brushed her teeth and turned the other way. The bitch squirmed around as her belly shirt gut brushed across my arm. She tried to beg for mercy, but only came up empty. I clenched my eyes and tried to shake it off. All I wanted from them was an apology. All I wanted from Des was an apology. All I wanted from my mother was an apology. I know what I am, I yelled. You know what, you evil cunt? Her last seconds of fear and life escaped her. I spun her head off and then punted it through the window that was taped over with a black garage bag. Her body continued to wriggle around. Good thing I still had a fix. I planted my foot in her sternum and ripped her arm off. Shot to the wrist. I squeezed every last drop of blood out of her arm like a towel. No Knuckle this time. I went reverse style and showered myself in her worthless blood. I lifted up the arm like a trophy. It was my first straight fix since rehab. I stumbled around for a minute. Well, stumbling would imply that I was in control of what I was doing. Realistically, I fell through the same window that I threw Mama's head out of. I pulled myself back into the house, only to crash face first into the screen of an old-school rear projection TV. And then, after several attempts at trying to pick myself up, I heard a peep from across the room. Drunk on misery, I slung around, ready to kill. Then I saw her. "Hey," I said, as the mellowing drugs vibrated through my body. Under the kitchen table was a little girl. I tried to smile when I remembered something that Bate told me. He pins her down and makes her lick his balls. Pinball? She hid her face behind her hands and didn't say a word. My legs collapsed Indian style and I scratched my belly. A pit bull came over, licked some blood off my knee and then curled up next to me. I petted him. He hated his parents just as much as everyone else did. I pulled Bates' ID card out of my pocket and tossed it to the little girl. She looked at it but didn't pick it up. Then, she pulled the tablecloth from above her head and hit her face. The hot desert nightfall caused sweat to drip out of my eyes. Everyone knows that vampire gangsters don't cry. Oh, the humanity. Good evening. This is Jason Hill, host of the Horror Hill podcast. You've been listening to a chapter from the award-winning novel Knuckle Supper by best-selling author Drew Stepek. Knuckle Supper, Ultimate Gutter Fix Edition, and its critically acclaimed sequel, Knuckleballed, are available now from Bloodbound Books. Check out the links in the video description and sticky comments below to pick up a copy today and show your support for indie horror. Also, please consider making a donation to Children of the Night today and help end teen prostitution and human trafficking. Children of the Night is a privately funded non-profit organization established in 1979 with the specific purpose of providing intervention in the lives of children who are sexually exploited and vulnerable to, or involved in, prostitution and pornography. Visit childrenofthenight.org for more information today. From author Drew Stepek and all of us here at Chilling Tales for Dark Nights, thanks for listening and for your support.
Chilling Tales for Dark Nights.